because I was attempting to tie it into what we were saying.
So
you were saying
notice those statues, right? And look at the headdresses on those statues.
I see what he's saying.
And later on, we'll show you pictures of the sea peoples, and they some of them had similar headdresses. Okay.
Now, with the sea peoples too, there was like multiple tribes that were involved, but a lot.
Yeah. So let me just run with this story quickly. So at that time, the sea level was lower, so there was potentially a civilization where the Azores Plateau is now. The Azores Island is there now, but potentially there's like a lot under the water there that was exposed back then. And this is what Solon says.
I know they're doing scuba research too concerning all that too.
Yeah. Actually, there was a guy. He found some stuff under the water there with sonar. I think it was an Italian fisherman or whatever, and he found structures under the water there.
Yeah.
And I remember that a few years ago, and it kind of went dark. Like no one really talked about it. But
they're doing it, aren't they? Aren't they finding cultures that are sunk down on like the southern coast of Spain and stuff right there, where the
Yes. So this is all part of this, right? Because imagine this: if you're a civilization in the middle of the Atlantic, you have the exactly how Plato described it. He says they were on the main island, but past the island they were on the mainland as well. So he's saying they were in South America as well. Okay, so he said Atlantis wasn't an island; it was an empire that stretched from South America to Lebanon. Like literally covered like half the planet. All right.
Isn't this what we were talking about the other day?
Solon was the father of Plato. Now Plato, we haven't even gotten into. Like I'm like focusing.
But I thought about finding the culture in South America, and isn't supposedly there's something like cocaine or something like that on one of the.
Oh, you're talking about
it's on the mummies.
That's different.
Yes. Yes. And exactly, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So like, this is the evidence that shows that there was trade and there was movement between South America and Egypt. Okay?
Or at least what they're presenting it
that there would have been a stopping point, which would be the Azores, okay, which is where Atlantis was. And so
validating the truth.
I believe that when the end of the Ice Age happened, the whole Randall Carlson comet impact theory, right? When all that catastrophe happened, there was refugees from that island because it was a high civilization. They had high technology for that time there. And they had the best seeds and the best everything of the world there because they were the best trading post in the whole world, right? They had the most gold, they had the most everything. Like Plato describes it beautifully. You should really read that story. So I believe these refugees, in the last effort of desperate to save their civilization, they took the horns of a ram and put the seeds in there, right? And then sealed it with wax. And that allowed them to keep the seeds over the ocean and the rain and stuff. And they sailed in different directions. They went, some of them went to South America, some of them went to North America, some of them went to Egypt. The ones that went to Egypt are now known as the Sea Peoples that attacked there. And there was multiple waves of it. It wasn't just one. It happened a few times, right? But the ones that went to South America weren't very well documented. But I went there myself, and I actually found out. This is how I found out about these figures, these Atlantean figures. There are multiple stories all across South America, right, of these civilizing heroes, or now known as gods, that actually brought knowledge and civilizing arts to the people, right? Because they say that the people were sort of cave-dwelling kind of people back then. But when these white-skinned, bearded people came over the sea, they brought seeds with them. And these seeds and the knowledge of architecture, they started civilization, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And have you ever heard the term cornucopia?
Cornucopia,
Yeah. I saw the movie.
Yeah. Look that up, because like that cornucopia is actually a reference to the horn that I'm talking about, the horn of Capricorn. That horn is the horn of the seeds that they used to keep, that the civilizing heroes kept the seeds in. And
now see,
when these
before you came on, we were talking about Sanitarian and how he was always compiling old literature of ancient lore and stuff like that. And like the sun pillars that was set up all through Phoenicia. They would take these stories and they would put them down on the basins of the freaking pillars, and he would go around and he would collect them. And he was probably one of the first recorded historians in history. You know what I mean? And to this day, like, he's still accredited as being, like, you know, freaking pretty thorough on his writings and stuff. And that was...
Who is that? Sorry?
Sanitarian.
Okay. Karma, can you send me a link or something?
Okay, so can I ask you a question too first before we get too far from what you were just saying? Because I was already looking at this, because you were talking about the correlation in the Phoenicians and trading over here in South America. Yeah, the Atlantis or the Azore Plateau. And I'm like, listen, so I'm just looking at it in reference to where location is in regards to Lebanon. And remember, Roger, you were telling me about sometimes that there were places that they were in places that, like, other places too besides what we just see here.
Like they're
so Baalbek in Lebanon is the example of the Atlantean structures that used to be there. So like before the cataclysm.
What she's referring to is the Phoenicians had a very, very large area for distribution. Like, they could, the reach was pretty broad. You know what I'm saying? Like, they've even got stories that could possibly link the Phoenicians to actually making it to England at one point or another. And that's what she was talking about. And I'll take that copy of. I'll just copy and paste the name of the guy I was.
And how is it, right? How is it that the Phoenicians had this high technology of naval travel, and so early on in the piece? The only explanation really is that they inherited that information from somewhere else, from a previous people, right?
And see, they had power. They had power even before the Greeks did. So,
exactly.
Their influence was
because they inherited it from Atlantis. They are actually the descendants of the Atlanteans. So they are one of the refugee waves of refugees that came to the mainland. Right, and that's why they never really settled in one place. They kind of traded and went around the place because they came from somewhere else.
Now, I pasted the name of Sanitarian in the.
I was going to send them the link. I was just looking for mine because I have so much stuff. I have Sharma, I have the Phoenicians here, then I have Heron City, Shalmaneser, like I had Neoplate, the Mount Olympus, everything we talk about. Yeah, but Neoplate
versus
Neolithic. You're gonna have to give me like a few more minutes because I haven't gotten it yet. It's in my. I'll tell you. Like I'll share it. It's in my history.
Roger, did you say you posted the link?
Yeah.
No,
right
the name.
It's in the Jitsi chat right there. Just copy and paste.
Oh, Jitsi chat. Oh, okay. I'm not checking the Jitsi
Sanachunathion.
He posted the name. Yeah.
How do I get to the Jitsi chat? How does that work?
It's the little
You're on Jitsi,
like
right?
message thing on the bottom.
Yeah.
You see on the bottom.
If you scroll
where you can mute video.
Yeah.
Look, you see mute video.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah.
Now,
Sanachunathian, that's not him.
Sanachunathian.
Okay, so just before I lose my spot there, all I was trying to say is I'm suggesting that the Phoenicians descended from the Atlanteans. Also, I think the other examples of people like that are the Basque people of Spain, right?
Yeah.
How they have that language isolate in Spain. I think that's an injection from refugees from Atlantis as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would bet that there would be similarities between the Basque language and probably Phoenician language.
Well, with the Basque, it's also DNA too. Like their genetics.
I've never looked into it.
Their genetics are unique.
Yeah, the genetics is interesting to look at as well. Yeah, for sure. And I wonder if the Hebrew people were also, because they were kind of very entwined with the Phoenicians, you know, and I also believe the Minoans. So, like, I found the Sea People's story really interesting because they specifically named these different Sea Peoples, right?
Yeah.
And
Different
one
ones.
of them I could identify as the tribe of Dan, okay? Because the name, it sounded very similar, and I'm pretty sure of it.
You see,
And
a lot of the archaeologists and historians, they actually say that where the region is that Dan comes from, which would be up around Anatolia, okay, they actually say freaking there are parts of the Sea People that did originate in that area. Now like Noah, okay, like you know of Noah's tomb,
Yeah.
right? Okay, that's like
Exactly.
maybe 20 miles away from freaking Mount Ararat, okay. Not a lot of people don't know that. They have no clue that it's like literally 20-30 miles away from Mount Ararat.
And that's in Saudi Arabia, right?
No, that's up there in Anatolia. That's right there in freaking that's right.